A single SOS woke humanity's last living weapon. Part 1. The Slumber. The endless void of space stretched in all directions around the small monitoring station, a lonely outpost circling a forgotten star. Inside, Commander Jiwoo Kim floated in her suspension chamber, her body neither fully alive nor dead, preserved in a twilight state between existence and nothingness. The soft blue glow from her pod cast eerie shadows across the station's main control room. Jiwoo was special. Her DNA had been carefully modified, her muscles and bones reinforced, her reflexes enhanced beyond what any normal human could achieve. She was one of the vanguard, the last line of defense created when humanity faced extinction. Now, she was the only one left. Life support systems stable, reported the station's AI in its flat, emotionless voice. Subject vital signs nominal. The AI, which Jiwoo had named Hana during her brief periods of wakefulness over the centuries, continued its endless monitoring. Outside the station's reinforced walls, stars were born and died while Jiwoo slept on, unaware of time's passage. Her warship, the Defender, floated silently nearby, its weapon systems dormant, its engines cold. Like its captain, the ship waited for a call that might never come. 300 years had passed since the swarm had nearly wiped out humanity. 300 years since Earth's fall and the desperate escape of survivors to distant corners of the galaxy. 300 years of silence. In her dreams, Jiwoo saw faces, her parents who had volunteered her for the Vanguard program, her friends from training, her fellow soldiers who had fought and died while she survived. Sometimes she dreamed of the modifications they had made to her body, the painful surgeries and injections that had turned her into something more and less than human. "You will be our insurance policy," the general had told her group on their last day as ordinary humans. "If all else fails, you will remain, waiting and watching." All else had failed. The monitoring station collected dust and cosmic radiation. Tiny automatic repair drones scuttled along its hull, fixing micrometeor impacts and maintaining the solar arrays that powered Jiwoo's life support systems. Every 50 years on schedule, Hana would wake Jiwoo briefly for system checks and psychological evaluation before returning her to suspension. During her last awakening, Jiwoo had asked, "Any contact from other stations?" "Negative," Hana had replied. "No contact from human sources for 237 years. Jiwoo had nodded, hiding her disappointment. "Put me back under then." And so she slept again, floating in the nutrient bath that kept her muscles from wasting away, electrical stimulation, maintaining her enhanced body's readiness despite decades of disuse. The station orbited. The ship waited. Hana watched, until something changed. It began as a faint signal, barely distinguishable from background radiation. Hana's communication arrays automatically adjusted, trying to clean up the transmission. The signal strengthened, repeating in a pattern that matched no known natural phenomenon. Hana ran the signal through her databases, comparing it to every communication protocol she knew. After 7 minutes of analysis, she found a match in her oldest files. It was a human military distress call, using encryption standards from before the fall of Earth. The signal contained coordinates, a brief message, and an authentication code that hadn't been used in centuries. Hana verified it 3 times before acting. Emergency lights flashed throughout the station. The suspension pod's fluid began to drain as warming elements activated around Jiwoo's body. Medical systems prepared stimulants and painkillers for the revival process. "Emergency awakening protocol initiated," Hana announced to the empty room. "Revival of Commander Kim in progress due to Priority 1 signal detection." Inside her pod, Jiwoo's eyes moved beneath closed lids as her brain activity increased for the first time in 50 years. Her heart rate climbed steadily as her body temperature rose toward normal human levels. Outside, the Defender's systems began powering up, lights blinking on throughout its sleek hull as weapon checks and engine diagnostics ran automatically. "Signal. Origin confirmed," Hana continued. "Human colony designation, Hope's Landing. Authentication verified. Message reads, under attack, unknown hostiles. Technology similar to Swarm. Send help if anyone remains. The pod's cover slid open with a soft hiss. Jiwoo's first conscious breath in half a century was a painful gasp as her lungs struggled to remember their purpose. Her eyes opened slowly, pupils contracting against the light. "Welcome back, Commander," Hana said. "I apologize for the unscheduled awakening, but we have received a distress call. Human lives are in danger." Jiwoo's voice was rough from disuse as she spoke her first words. After all this time, a single SOS had awakened humanity's last living weapon, and somewhere across the stars, people who didn't know she existed were about to discover what humanity had created in its darkest hour. A single SOS woke humanity's last living weapon. Part 2. Awakening pain. That was Jiwoo's first clear thought as her body fought against the chemicals forcing life back into her tissues. Every nerve ending screamed in protest, her enhanced muscles seizing and relaxing in waves. She gripped the edges of the suspension pod, her knuckles white, teeth clenched against the urge to scream. "I'm sorry for the discomfort, Commander." Hana's voice came through speakers overhead. "The revival process is 47% complete. Would you like more pain suppressants?" Jiwoo shook her head, droplets of suspension fluid flying from her short black hair. "No. I need to feel this. Need to remember I'm alive." The pain was a strange comfort, proof that after centuries of floating between life and death, she could still feel something. Her vision cleared slowly, the familiar contours of the station's medical bay coming into focus. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, covered in a fine layer of dust despite Hana's maintenance protocols. "How long?" Jiwoo asked, her voice still rough. 53 years since your last scheduled awakening," Hana replied. 312 years since your initial suspension." Jiwoo nodded, processing this information. Everyone she had ever known was dust now, scattered across stars or buried on planets she would never visit. She was truly alone. "Tell me about the signal," she said, forcing herself to focus on the present, on her purpose. The medical bay's main screen flickered to life, displaying a star map with a blinking red dot. The distress call originated from a human colony designated Hope's Landing, established approximately 170 years ago by survivors from the Space Orcs. Images appeared on the screen: a green-blue planet orbiting a yellow star, orbital habitats circling like moons, agricultural domes on the surface. The colony appeared to be thriving, or it had been before whatever prompted the distress call. The message was brief, Hana continued. They reported being under attack by forces using technology similar to the swarm, though the attackers themselves appeared to be a different species. Jiwoo closed her eyes, unwelcome memories flooding back. The swarm, insectoid creatures with hive minds and biotech that had overwhelmed Earth's defenses. The desperate evacuation. The creation of the Vanguard program as humanity's last-ditch effort to ensure survival. "Show me the message," she ordered, forcing her legs to support her weight as she stood for the first time in decades. Her enhanced body recovered quickly from suspension but still felt stiff, unused. The screen changed to show a man's face, his features tense with fear. His uniform bore insignia Jiwoo didn't recognize, the colony's own military markings, evolved over generations. "This is Commander Hyun of Hope's Landing Defense Force," the recording began. "We are under attack by unknown hostiles using technology similar to historical records of the swarm. Our orbital defenses have been breached. Ground forces are holding but cannot last without reinforcement. If anyone receives this message, if any military vessels remain from the old fleet, please respond. Authentication code follows." The screen went dark as the message ended. "When did this arrive?" Jiwoo asked, stretching her limbs methodically, testing each enhanced muscle group. 7 hours ago, Commander. I began revival procedures immediately." Jiwoo nodded, making her way to the station's command center. Her bare feet left wet footprints on the metal floor. "Status of the Defender?" "All systems operational. Weapons at 94% capacity. Fuel cells at 89%. The ship is ready for immediate departure." At the command center, Jiwoo sank into the captain's chair, her fingers automatically finding the control panels. The screens came alive around her, displaying the defender systems, the star map showing the distance to Hope's landing and the status of her own body. "They're 3 months away at maximum speed," she muttered, studying the map. "Yes, Commander, by the time we arrive, they might all be dead," Jiwoo finished the thought. "But we still go. It's what we were made for." She accessed the historical database, scanning through 3 centuries of collected information. The scattered human colonies had developed in isolation, some thriving, others failing. None had managed to rebuild the military might of old Earth. None would stand a chance against anything resembling the swarm. "Are there any other Vanguard stations still responding?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Negative, Commander. The last contact from another Vanguard station was received 207 years ago. So she was it. The last living weapon humanity had created, the final guardian of a species that had scattered like seeds to the cosmic wind." Jiwoo found herself staring at her reflection in a darkened screen. Her face hadn't aged a day since she'd entered suspension, her enhanced cells preserved perfectly. Her dark eyes held the same determination they always had, but now there was something else there too, a loneliness that centuries of sleep hadn't erased. "Prepare the defender for departure," she ordered, standing up straight. "Load all combat simulations and colony defense protocols. Wake the tactical systems and begin plotting intercept courses." "Yes, Commander. And your personal preparations?" Jiwoo looked down at her body, still dripping with suspension fluid. "I need to remember how to be human again before I can remember how to fight." As the station hummed with preparation around her, Jiwoo walked to her personal quarters, a small room she had barely used in her previous brief awakenings. Her uniform still hung where she had left it centuries ago, the fabric somehow preserved. The insignia of Earth's final defense force gleamed dully on the collar. She dressed slowly, each movement bringing back muscle memory from another life. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders along with the uniform. "Defender pre-launch. Sequence initiated," Hana reported. "Awaiting your command." Jiwoo took one last look around the station that had been her tomb and cradle for 300 years. Then she straightened her back, lifted her chin, and spoke the words she had been created to say. "This is Commander Jiwoo Kim activating Vanguard Protocol. Humanity calls, and I answer." A single SOS woke humanity's last living weapon, Part 3. The journey, the Defender cut through the darkness of space like a knife, its engines burning with a blue-white flame that hadn't been seen in centuries. Inside the bridge, Jiwoo sat in the captain's chair, her eyes fixed on the main view screen as stars streaked past in long lines of light. "Engine temperature at 107% of recommended levels," Hana's voice reported through the ship's communication system. "At current speed, we will reach Hope's Landing in 83 days. Jiwoo frowned, tapping her fingers on the armrest. "Not fast. Enough. Push it to 115%. "Commander, that exceeds safety parameters. The ship was built to be pushed," Jiwoo cut in, "and those people don't have 83 days. A moment of silence followed before Hana responded. "Adjusting engine output. New estimated arrival. 76 days. A week saved." It might not matter, but Jiwoo couldn't stand the thought of arriving too late. Not after sleeping for so long, while the galaxy changed around her. The journey gave her time to rebuild herself. Each morning she spent hours in the training room, her enhanced body slowly remembering its purpose. She ran combat simulations, her muscles burning as she pushed herself beyond what any normal human could endure. She lifted weights that would crush ordinary bones, ran until sweat soaked through her clothes, and practiced with weapons until her hands blistered and healed. Over and over. "Your body is responding well to reconditioning," Hana noted on the 15th day. "All enhancements are functioning at 78% of optimal levels." "Only 78%? Jiwoo grunted, completing her 500th push-up. "Not good enough." In the afternoons she studied. The Defender's database contained everything humanity had known about the swarm before Earth fell. She memorized their attack patterns, their weaknesses, their biology. If this new enemy was similar, she needed to be ready. Display the message. Again, she ordered one evening, collapsing into her chair after a particularly brutal training session. Commander Hyun's face appeared on screen, his eyes wide with fear as he described the attack. Jiwoo had watched the recording so many times she could recite it from memory, but something about seeing another human face made her feel less alone. Freeze image, she said. Enhance section 3x4. The screen zoomed in on something. In the background, a blurry shape moving past a window behind Hyun. It was too distorted to identify clearly, but its silhouette wasn't insectoid like the swarm. What are you? Jiwoo whispered to the shape. And why are you using swarm tech? On the 32nd day, as Jiwoo was checking the ship's weapon systems, Hana's voice cut through her concentration. Commander, I'm detecting another transmission. Jiwoo's head snapped up. From Hope's Landing? Yes, signal is weaker but using the same authentication codes. Put it through. The screen flickered, showing a different face this time. A woman with a bloody gash across her forehead, smoke filling the room behind her. This is Captain Sook of Orbital Defense Platform Horizon. The colony is under heavy attack. We've lost contact with 3 surface settlements. Orbital stations 1 and 4 are gone. If anyone receives this, we need immediate assistance. We cannot hold out much. The transmission cut off abruptly. Jiwoo slammed her fist against the console. Hana, push engines to 130%. Commander, that will cause permanent damage to— Do it! Jiwoo shouted. We need to get there now. The ship lurched as the engines roared louder, the hull creaking under the strain. Warning lights flashed across the bridge, but Jiwoo ignored them all. New estimated arrival. 61 days, Hana reported. Jiwoo nodded grimly. 2 more weeks saved, but would it be enough? The days blurred together as Jiwoo pushed herself harder, sleeping only when her enhanced body demanded it. She spent hours in the armory, cleaning weapons that hadn't been fired in centuries. She ran battle simulations on the bridge, preparing for every possible scenario she could imagine. At night, when the ship was quiet except for the hum of the straining engines, doubt crept in. She stood before the viewport in her quarters, watching. The stars streaked by and wondered what she was racing toward. A colony of people who had never known Earth, never seen what the swarm could do. People who wouldn't understand what she was. Am I still human? She asked the empty room one night, looking at her reflection in the viewport glass. Her body hadn't aged in 3 centuries. Her muscles were denser than normal, her bones reinforced with materials that hadn't existed before the war. Her reflexes were faster than any natural humans could be. She touched the glass, her fingertips meeting those of her reflection. Or am I just a weapon that looks human? On the 45th day, another warning light appeared on the console. Fuel reserves at 38%, Hana reported. At current consumption rate, we will have insufficient fuel for combat operations upon arrival. Jiwoo closed her eyes, calculating quickly. Reduce life support to minimum levels in all sections except the bridge and my quarters. Redirect power to propulsion. That will make much of the ship uninhabitable, Hana warned. I only need the bridge, the armory, and my quarters, Jiwoo replied. Everything else is just dead weight right now. The temperature dropped noticeably within hours as life support systems powered down across the ship. Jiwoo's breath frosted in the air as she moved through the darkened corridors during her daily inspection rounds. She wore her combat suit at all times now, its thermal regulation keeping her warm enough to function. On the 57th day, with Hope's Landing just 4 days away, Jiwoo made her final preparations. She laid out her full battle armor on her bed, black and silver plates designed to withstand energy weapons and physical impacts. She checked each piece meticulously, though Hana had maintained them perfectly through the centuries. Commander, Hana's voice came through the comm system. I've been analyzing the colony's original layout based on historical records. The topography suggests several defensible positions where survivors might have gathered. Jiwoo nodded, running, her fingers over the Vanguard insignia on her armor's chest plate. Good. Any more transmissions? Negative. No signals from Hope's landing for 25 days. Jiwoo tried not to think about what that might mean. Instead, she focused on the task ahead. She was a vanguard, humanity's last defense created for this exact moment. If even one colonist still lived, her purpose remained. As the Defender began its final approach to Hope's landing, Jiwoo stood on the bridge in full battle armor, her helmet tucked under one arm. The view screen showed the star system growing, larger with each passing hour. "We're coming," she whispered to the unknown people who had sent that desperate call across the stars. "Humanity's last weapon is awake, and I remember how to fight." A single SOS woke humanity's last living weapon. Part 4. First Contact. The planet. Hope's landing grew larger in the view screen as the Defender dropped out of faster-than-light travel. What should have been a beautiful sight, a blue-green world, orbited by gleaming stations, was instead a scene of devastation. "Scanning," Hana announced, her voice flat against the horror displayed before them. "Detecting debris fields consistent with destroyed orbital habitats. 3 of the 5 original stations appear to be completely gone." Jiwoo leaned forward in her command chair, her armored gloves gripping the controls tightly. Chunks of metal tumbled through space, pieces of homes, workplaces, lives shattered by an unseen enemy. The planet below showed dark scars visible even from orbit, burn marks stretching across what had once been farmland. "Any life signs?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Scanning. Yes. I'm detecting 1 intact orbital station. Minimal power signatures, but life support appears functional. On the surface, there's a concentration of energy readings near the original colony capital. Defensive shields are active there." Jiwoo nodded. "Someone's still fighting." "Commander, I'm also detecting unusual energy signatures in orbit around the far side of the planet. Configuration unknown, but they don't match any historical human designs." "The enemy fleet," Jiwoo murmured. "How many ships?" 17 vessels of varying sizes. Their energy output suggests significant weapons capability. 17 against 1. Not the worst odds she'd faced in simulations, but those had been programmed centuries ago. Who knew what advancements these enemies had made? "Open a channel." "To the surviving station," Jiwoo ordered, straightening in her chair. Static filled the speakers for several moments before a cautious voice responded. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately or we will open fire with what weapons we have left." "This is Commander Jiwoo Kim of the Earth Defense Vessel Defender," she replied, the old military designation feeling strange on her tongue after so long. "I'm responding to your distress call." Silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds before the voice returned, now trembling. "Earth? Earth has been gone for 300 years. "I know," Jiwoo said simply. "I've been asleep almost that long. I'm a vanguard soldier. I was created to respond when humanity needed protection." The view screen flickered, and a face appeared. A middle-aged man with tired eyes and a jagged scar running from his temple to his jaw. He wore a uniform Jiwoo didn't recognize, its once crisp lines now torn and stained. "I'm Captain Junho of Hope's Defense Force," he said, studying her with open disbelief. You're really from Earth? From before?" "Yes," Jiwoo confirmed. "I received your colony's distress call 60 days ago. What's the situation?" Junho laughed bitterly. "Situation? We're dying. 3 weeks ago they came from nowhere. Ships unlike anything we've ever seen. They destroyed our outer settlements first, then moved to the orbital stations. They took Station 4 intact. We had to destroy it ourselves. When we realized they were capturing people, not just killing them." "How many survivors?" "Maybe 3,000 on this station. Another 10,000 in the capital below, if they're still holding out. Communications have been spotty for days." His eyes narrowed. "And you came alone, 1 ship?" Jiwoo didn't flinch. "1 ship is all that's left, 1 ship and 1 soldier." "Then we're still doomed," Junho said, his brief hope fading. "Maybe not." Jiwoo stood, her full armored form now visible in the transmission. "This ship was designed to fight the swarm. I was designed to fight the swarm. You said the attackers are using similar technology? Shunyo nodded slowly. Similar but different too. They're not insects like in the old records. They're something else. Humanoid, but wrong somehow. They use weapons that seem to be grown, not built. Organic technology, like the old stories, of the swarm. Show me, Jiwoo demanded. The screen changed to show grainy footage from a security camera. Humanoid figures moved with unnatural grace through a corridor. Their bodies seemed wrapped in living armor that pulsed and shifted as they moved. Where their faces should be, there were only smooth, reflective surfaces that occasionally split open to reveal something underneath. Something with too many teeth. They spoke once, Junho said, as the footage continued. Only once. They said, "We were suitable templates for the next evolution." Then the killing started. Or worse, the taking. Jiwoo studied the footage carefully, her enhanced brain cataloging every detail, comparing it to what she knew of the original swarm. They've adapted, she finally said. The original swarm must have combined with another species. They're not just destroyers anymore, they're converters. Commander, Hana interrupted, the enemy fleet has detected us. They're changing course, moving to intercept. Jiwoo turned to face the view screen again. Captain Junho, get your people. To the surface if you can. Use whatever shuttles you have left. And go where? He asked bitterly. The only safe place is the capital, and we can't be sure their shields will hold much longer. They'll hold, Jiwoo said with more confidence than she felt. Because I'm going to give the enemy something else to worry about. She cut the transmission and turned her attention to the weapons controls. Hana, how long until they're in firing? Range, 12 minutes at current speeds. Target the lead vessel. Let's see how they react to old Earth technology. As the defender moved to intercept the approaching fleet, Jiwoo opened a channel to the surface. For several tense moments, there was no response. Then the screen showed a cramped room filled with people hunched over makeshift control panels. A woman with short gray hair looked up, exhaustion clear on her face. This is Governor Yunju. Who am I speaking with? Commander Jiwoo Kim of the Earth Defense Force, Jiwoo replied. I've come in response to your distress call. Unlike Captain Junho, the governor showed no surprise. Perhaps she was too tired for it. You're 3 weeks late, Commander, but thank you for coming. I need information about your defenses, Governor. I'm about to engage the enemy fleet, but they outnumber me significantly. Governor Yunju straightened slightly. We have a planetary shield covering the capital and surrounding 10 kilometers. Power is at 31% and falling. Ground forces are holding. The perimeter where they've tried to land troops, but we lose more people every day. Do you have any orbital weapons platforms left? 1. Station 2 has a mass driver, but it's operating on backup power. Maybe 3 shots left before it fails. Completely. Jiwoo nodded. Have them target the smallest enemy ship when I give the signal. My scans show it's likely a support vessel. For the first time, a spark of hope appeared in the governor's eyes. You have a plan? I always have a plan, Jiwoo replied, though the plan was forming even as she spoke. Stand by for my signal. As she ended the transmission, the enemy fleet came into visual range. 17 ships of various sizes, their hulls an unsettling combination of metal and something that looked almost like flesh. They moved in formation, protecting the largest vessel at their center. They're scanning us, Hana reported. Unusual energy patterns. They may be attempting to interface with our systems. Shut down all external data ports, Jiwoo ordered. Manual control only from here on. She took a deep breath, her enhanced body ready for battle after weeks of preparation. 3 centuries of sleep, 60 days of travel, all for this moment. 1 soldier against an alien fleet. 1 last weapon from a fallen Earth. All weapons hot, she said, her voice steady. Let's show them what humanity's last guardian can do. The first shots fired across the blackness of space, bright lances of energy connecting 2 civilizations that had never meant to meet. As the battle began, the people of Hope's Landing watched from the surface and the remaining station. their futures hanging on the actions of a woman who had slept while their world was built. Jiwoo's hands flew across the controls, the ship responding to her commands like an extension of her enhanced body. The first enemy vessel exploded under her barrage, scattering debris that writhed and pulsed unnaturally before going still. "Send the signal to Station 2, she ordered Hana, "and tell the colony to be ready. This is just the beginning." As 17, ships closed in around her, Jiwoo Kim, humanity's last living weapon, smiled grimly beneath her helmet. After 3 centuries of slumber, she was finally fulfilling her purpose. A single SOS woke humanity's last living weapon, Part 5. The living weapon space lit up with explosions as the Defender weaved through enemy fire, its ancient weapons blazing against the hybrid fleet. Jiwoo's hands danced across the controls, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to pilot the ship with impossible precision. The view screen showed destruction spreading across the battlefield. 2 enemy vessels already reduced to drifting debris. "They're adapting to our weapons signature," Hana warned as Jiwoo narrowly avoided a direct hit. "Their shields are adjusting after each impact." Jiwoo nodded grimly. That was how the swarm had always operated, learning, evolving, becoming stronger with each encounter. But she had been designed to be unpredictable. "Switch to pattern Delta," she ordered, her fingers flying across the weapon controls. Random energy modulation between shots. The Defender's weapons shifted frequency, each blast now unique. The next volley tore through an enemy ship's shields, causing it to list sideways before secondary explosions ripped it apart from within. 3 down, Jiwoo muttered. 14 to go. On her tactical display, she could see the remaining station's mass driver powering up, aiming at the smallest enemy vessel as she had instructed. When it fired, the massive projectile crossed space in seconds, striking with devastating force. The enemy ship crumpled like paper, its strange organic mechanical hull peeling away. "Good shot," Jiwoo said, allowing herself a small smile. "Tell them to target the next smallest one." But the enemy was learning quickly. 5 ships broke from the main group heading toward the station. Jiwoo cursed under her breath. "Hana, warn Station 2, they need to evacuate now." She pulled the Defender into a tight turn, pushing the engines beyond their limits to intercept the attacking ships. The hull groaned under the strain, warning lights flashing across her console. "Hull integrity at 72%, Hana reported calmly. "Enemy targeting systems locked on our engine section." Jiwoo didn't respond, focused entirely on the battle. She fired the main cannons in rapid succession, catching one enemy ship broadside. It spun away, damaged, but not destroyed. The other 4 continued toward the station, ignoring her attacks. On the comm system, she could hear the panic from Station 2. "They're breaching the outer hull, we can't—" The transmission cut off in a burst of static. "No!" Jiwoo slammed her fist against the console. Too late. The station's life signs were rapidly disappearing from her sensors. Rage filled her. Cold, calculating rage that had been engineered into her DNA. The Vanguard weren't just soldiers. They were weapons with human minds, designed to channel emotions into tactical advantages. "New plan," she said, her voice deadly calm. "Reroute power from life support to weapons. All of it. Commander, that will do it, Hana." The ship's interior dimmed as power drained from non-essential systems. The temperature began to drop immediately, but Jiwoo's battle armor would protect her for long enough. The weapons display showed energy levels climbing beyond normal parameters. "Target their command ship," she ordered, eyes fixed on the largest enemy vessel at the center of their formation. "Full power to forward shields. Prepare for direct approach." The Defender surged forward, engines screaming as they pushed beyond. Design specifications. Enemy fire intensified, energy beams and organic projectiles hammering against the forward shields. Warnings blared across the bridge, but Jiwoo ignored them all. "Shields at 31% and falling," Hana reported. "We cannot sustain this approach." "We don't need to sustain it," Jiwoo replied. "We just need to get close enough." The main enemy ship grew larger in the view screen, its bizarre architecture becoming clearer, a twisted combination of grown and built components pulsing with internal light. From this distance, Jiwoo could see figures moving inside transparent sections of the hull, humanoid but wrong, as Captain Junho had described. A direct hit rocked the defender, throwing Jiwoo against her restraints. Part of the bridge exploded and a shower of sparks, smoke filling the air. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Hana announced. "Engines operating at 47% efficiency, shields failing." Jiwoo wiped blood from her forehead where it had struck the console. "Open a channel to the surface. Governor Unju." The governor's face appeared, her eyes widening at the sight of Jiwoo's bloodied face and the damaged bridge behind her. "Commander, what's happening up there?" "I'm going to create an opening," Jiwoo said, her voice steady despite everything. "When I do, you need to hit them with everything you have left. Do you understand?" "Everything." Governor Yunju nodded slowly. "I understand. But how will you—" "Just be ready." Jiwoo cut the connection and opened a new channel. "Captain Junho." "Are you there?" After a moment of static, his voice came through. "We're here. Most of us made it to the surface before Station 1 was destroyed." "Good. I need you to gather every fighter craft you have left. When I create an opening, attack from below. Target their engines." "What opening?" Junho asked. "They have us surrounded." "Commander." Jiwoo looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships had indeed formed a blockade between the defender and the planet, a wall of deadly force. "You'll know it when you see it," she said softly. "Defender out." Alone on the bridge now, with Hana the only other voice, Jiwoo made her final calculations. The ship was failing around her, damage spreading across all systems, but it still had one last attack left. "Hana, set the reactor for overload," she said, her voice calm. "Transfer all remaining power to engines, plot a direct course for the command ship." A brief silence followed. "Commander, that course of action will result in the destruction of the defender and all aboard." "I know." Another pause. "It has been an honor serving with you, Commander Kim." Jiwoo's lips curved in a sad smile. "Likewise, Hana. Now let's complete our mission." The defender's engines flared one last time, pushing the wounded ship directly toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Enemy fire intensified, tearing into the failing shields and ripping chunks from the hull. But still the ship moved forward, driven by a determination as old as humanity itself. Jiwoo opened a final channel to the planet below. "People of Hope's Landing, this is Commander Jiwoo Kim of Earth. 300 years ago, I was created to be humanity's shield. Today I fulfill that purpose." She could see the command ship looming larger now, filling the view screen as distance closed. Warnings screamed across every console, but they no longer mattered. "Remember what I do here. Remember that when all else fails, humanity's strength has always been sacrifice." With her last words spoken, Jiwoo released the controls and closed her eyes. Around her, the defender's systems failed one by one as the reactor reached critical levels. In her mind, she saw Earth as it had been before the fall. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling across its surface. Home. The impact came with a flash of light that outshone the local star. The defender's reinforced hull, combined with its overloading reactor, tore through the enemy command ship like a spear. The resulting explosion rippled outward, catching 3 nearby enemy vessels in its blast. From the planet's surface, it appeared, as a new star being born. Governor Yunju watched with tears in her eyes, then turned to her people. "Now," she shouted, "all weapons, everything we have left." The colony's remaining defenses opened fire as Captain Junho led a ragtag fleet of shuttles and fighters from beneath the planetary shield. They struck the disoriented enemy fleet from below, targeting engines and weapon systems as Jiwoo had instructed. Without their command ship, the enemy vessels fell into disarray. Some turned on each other, their hive-like coordination shattered. Others attempted to flee only to be caught by the colony's counterattack. By nightfall, it was over. The skies above Hope's Landing were clear of enemies for the first time in weeks. The cost had been terrible. Thousands dead, stations destroyed, parts of the planet scarred beyond recovery, but the colony had survived. 1 week later, as reconstruction began, Governor Yunju stood before the gathered survivors in the colony's main square. Behind her, Workers were completing a simple stone monument. "We will rebuild," she told her people. "We will grow stronger, and we will remember the sacrifice made by Commander Jiwoo Kim, a woman from Earth who slept for 3 centuries only to give her life for people she had never met." She turned and pulled away the covering from the monument. Carved into the stone was a simple image, a human figure standing between a planet and the stars, arms outstretched in protection. Beneath it were the words, "To humanity's last living weapon, who remembered her humanity when it mattered most." In the years that followed, as Hope's Landing rebuilt and expanded, the story of Commander Kim and the Defender became legend. Children played it being Vanguard soldiers defending the colony. Scientists studied the recovered enemy technology, determined to be better prepared next time. And across the stars, other colonies heard the message that Hope's Landing broadcast, again and again. Humanity still had guardians watching over them, waiting in the darkness between stars. The message contained everything they had learned about the enemy and a warning to be ready. Because if one Vanguard soldier had survived the centuries, perhaps there were others out there, sleeping and waiting for a signal that would wake humanity's last living weapons.